Let me tell you something that most people won't say out loud. The moment he rejected you, he thought he had the power. He thought you would spiral, that you'd beg, plead, ask for another chance, or try to prove your worth to him. That's the script he's seen play out before. And maybe, just maybe, that's what he was bracing for. But when you chose silence, oh, you flipped the entire narrative. Because silence, real, composed, graceful silence, is louder than any text you could have sent. It's louder than any emotional breakdown or dramatic exit. It's the kind of silence that doesn't scream, "I'm hurting." It whispers, "I'm healing," and moving on. And that silence, it messes with him. See, rejection often comes from a place of ego. He might have pushed you away thinking he had options. Maybe he assumed he could come back later, when he was ready, and you'd still be there, waiting. But your silence is a message. You are not an option. You are a standard. And here's where it gets really interesting. That silence, it's not just killing his ego, it's waking up his conscience. Because now, for the first time, he's forced to sit with the consequences of his actions. He's no longer in control of the story. There are no more texts to feed his pride, no calls that validate his worth, just silence. And in that silence, something terrifying happens for him. He starts to wonder. He wonders why you haven't reached out, why you didn't fight harder, why you're not trying to fix it, because now he's realizing that maybe, just maybe, he let go of something valuable, something rare, and he didn't even see it until it was gone. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how people start to value what they lose after it's no longer accessible? It's human nature. We chase what runs. We obsess over what we can't have. And your silence? That's scarcity. That's mystery. That's confidence. You're not being quiet because you don't care. You're being quiet because you do care. But not about him. You care about your peace, your growth, your standards. Your silence isn't passive. It's active. It's you choosing yourself over someone who couldn't see your worth when it mattered most. And I need you to understand this. Your silence is not emptiness. It's power. It's restraint. It's the refusal to let someone dictate your worth or drag you into emotional chaos. It's your way of saying, I'm not entertaining anything that doesn't see me, respect me, or uplift me. So what happens to him now? He checks your socials. He rereads your messages. He replays moments in his head. He wonders if he made a mistake, but he won't say it. Not yet. Because pride is a funny thing. It'll let someone drown before it lets them admit they're wrong. But trust me, the silence is working. It's echoing in his mind louder than any confrontation ever could. And you? You're leveling up. You're not sitting around hoping for a text. You're not refreshing your phone or wondering if he misses you, because deep down, you already know the answer. Of course he does. You were real. You were loyal. You were ready. And instead of staying in a place where you weren't valued, you walked away with dignity. That's not weakness. That's courage. That's self-worth. And that's exactly what's killing him now. He didn't expect the silence. He didn't expect the glow-up. He didn't expect you to rise. So here's the truth. He may have rejected you, but you redefined the ending. Because rejection only has power when we let it define our worth. And you turned the tables by letting go without a fight. You didn't need closure because you created your own. Listen to me carefully. You don't win someone back by chasing them. You win your life back by choosing yourself. And when you do that, the right people, the real people, the ones who truly see you, they feel the difference. Because you radiate something rare, self-respect. So let the silence speak. Let it do its work, not to punish him, but to protect you. Because anyone who rejects you is clearing space for someone who won't need to lose you to realize your worth. And when that someone comes along, you'll be so glad you didn't break your silence for the wrong one. Let them wonder. Let them regret. Let them miss you. But don't you ever dim your silence just to make noise for someone who already showed you they couldn't hear you when you were speaking your truth. Your silence isn't killing him because you're trying to hurt him. It's killing him because he knows you're finally free. And that's the part most people never understand. Your silence isn't about playing games or seeking revenge. It's not about withholding affection or pretending you don't care. It's about reclaiming your power. Because when you stop talking, stop explaining, stop justifying, you take the spotlight off him and place it back on you. That silence is where your healing begins. It's the moment you stop trying to convince someone of your worth and start standing in it. Because the truth is, if you have to convince someone to choose you, they were never worthy of you to begin with. There's something sacred about refusing to beg, about not reaching out, about not needing the last word. And that quiet strength, it's what truly rattles someone who thought they had you wrapped around their finger. They expected tears. They expected a breakdown. But what they got instead was your complete, composed withdrawal. And that scares them more than anything. Because silence doesn't mean there's nothing to say. It means you've already said enough. It means you're done repeating yourself to someone who chose not to listen. And in that space, in that gap where you once poured your love, your energy, your attention, they now feel the coldness of their own decisions. You took your power back, not with anger, not with revenge, but with presence, the absence of drama, the absence of neediness. That right there is the highest form of self-respect. And whether he says it or not, he feels it. He feels the shift. He senses the weight of your silence, because it speaks the one truth he never thought he'd hear from you. I don't need you to be okay anymore. That is when he realizes he didn't just lose your attention, he lost your energy, he lost your presence, he lost access to you. And that silence, that's not emptiness, that's power. Because here's the truth he never saw coming. He expected you to chase him. That was the pattern he was counting on. Maybe it's what others did before you. Maybe he got used to being the one who pulls away and still holds the control. And in his mind, rejecting you didn't mean losing you. It meant putting you on pause. He thought you'd wait, that you'd reach out, that your silence was just a delay before the inevitable, "Hey, can we talk?" But you didn't play that role, and that's where everything changed. Because when someone expects you to chase, they're not afraid of losing you. They're afraid of losing control. And the moment you broke the cycle, the moment you didn't text, didn't call, didn't try to win him back, he felt it, not on the surface, not just in the ego. He felt it deep down, in the place where pride starts to tremble and doubt begins to creep in. He wasn't prepared for that kind of confidence, that kind of silence, that kind of unwavering decision that says, if you can let me go that easily, I can let you go completely. And now, instead of you being the one left with questions, he's the one wondering why you didn't try, why you're not hurting visibly, why you didn't come running back to validate his choice. Because silence after rejection does something most people don't expect. It forces the rejecter to face their own decision without any reassurance. There's no emotional aftermath to feed off, no drama to stay emotionally entangled in, just stillness, just space. Just the awareness that you respected yourself enough to walk away without needing to make a scene. And suddenly, he realizes that maybe he miscalculated. Maybe you weren't the weak one. Maybe you were the one with real strength all along. And now that you're gone and the noise has faded, he's left with nothing but his own thoughts. That's when the silence becomes deafening. Not for you, but for him. Because it's in that stillness where the truth begins to echo the loudest. With no messages from you to distract him, no conversations to lean on, and no attention feeding his ego, he starts to replay every word, every moment, every decision. The absence of your voice, your presence, your energy, it forces him into reflection, whether he's ready for it or not. That silence you gave him. It's not just silence anymore. It's a mirror. And what he sees in that mirror isn't as pretty as he imagined. He starts to question whether he was too quick to walk away, too blind to see what he had. He wonders why you didn't fight harder, and that question keeps him up at night. Not because he wants you back, but because it shatters the illusion he had of being in control. The longer you remain quiet, the more his mind begins to wander. Did you ever care? Are you over him already? Did you move on to someone better? Someone who actually sees you? That silence plants seeds of uncertainty in him, and the irony is they grow faster than any conversation ever could. You're not even trying to make him think, and yet he's thinking more now than he ever did when you were around. Because now, your silence is louder than your love ever was. It's in the space he used to take for granted. It's in the stillness that now surrounds his life. And in that space, he's forced to realize that while he was busy pushing you away, you were quietly building the strength to never return. And that's exactly what makes your silence so powerful. It's not laced with bitterness or spite. It's wrapped in dignity. It's the kind of quiet that doesn't scream for validation. It simply states, without words, that you value yourself too much to beg for someone who couldn't see your worth. You didn't try to prove anything. You didn't try to win him back. And in doing so, you protected something far more valuable than the relationship. You protected your self-respect. You chose to walk away with grace instead of clinging to someone who didn't have the vision to recognize what he was walking away from. Because there's a line that only those with self-awareness draw, and you drew it the moment you went silent. You didn't let the rejection define you. You didn't let it destroy you. Instead, you let it refine you. You didn't lose your voice. You chose not to waste it. And that choice is what sets you apart. It's what speaks volumes about the kind of person you are. You didn't stoop down to prove your worth to someone who couldn't hold it. You rose in silence and let him watch you disappear from his reach. And even if he never admits it, even if he never says a word, that grace, that restraint, that quiet confidence, it left a mark. Because the world is full of people who yell, chase, demand, and beg. But the one who walks away calmly, with head held high, holding on to their dignity, that's the one they never forget. That's the silence that lingers. That's the moment he realizes he didn't just lose someone who loved him. He lost someone who loved herself enough not to stay where she wasn't seen. And that's when it really starts to hit him. When the silence settles in like a shadow that doesn't leave. Because now, in the absence of your presence, he starts to notice what he never paid attention to before. The little things. The way you made him feel safe. The way your words could calm his storms. The way you supported him without asking for much in return. He starts to miss the energy you used to bring into his life. The way you understood him even when he couldn't find the words to explain himself. And that realization doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in slowly, painfully, in the quiet moments when he's alone with his thoughts. That's the irony. He didn't see your value when you were right in front of him. But now that you're gone, now that you're unreachable, that value multiplies in his mind. Because people don't crave what's easy to access. They crave what's rare. And now that your energy, your love, your effort aren't available to him, they've become rare, priceless. Suddenly, what he once took for granted feels like a privilege he lost. He remembers how it felt to be cared for so deeply, so genuinely, and now that he's without it, the contrast is jarring. He starts to miss things he didn't even notice before. The way you used to check in, the small details you remembered, the way you always showed up. And the silence you left behind isn't just a void. It's a reminder, a constant, unspoken reminder that no one else has stepped into your place, not the way you did. Because love like yours isn't something you replace. It's something you regret losing. And he's beginning to feel that regret not through your words, but through the heavy silence you've left in your wake. But while he's sitting in that silence, tangled in memories and questions, you're not stuck in the same place. You're not frozen in time, waiting for him to come around. You're moving, quietly, powerfully. You're growing into the version of yourself that doesn't need someone else's approval to feel whole. Because your silence isn't just the absence of words, It's the presence of self-focus. It's you redirecting your energy inward, nurturing the parts of you that may have been neglected when you were too busy giving everything to someone who didn't know how to receive it. You're not waiting for a text. You're not hoping for closure. You're not hanging on to the idea of who he could have been. That chapter is done, and in your stillness, you're rebuilding. You're healing in the spaces where you once stretched yourself too thin. You're rediscovering what it means to be fulfilled without needing to be needed. The glow up isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's internal. It's in the way you no longer question your worth when someone walks away. It's in the way you don't flinch at silence because now it feels like peace, not punishment. Every day, you're getting stronger, more clear, more grounded. While he's looking back, you're looking forward. You're investing in your growth, your passions, your purpose. And that quiet evolution, that's the most powerful thing about your silence, because it doesn't just show that you've moved on, it shows that you've leveled up. And by the time he realizes what he lost, you won't even recognize the version of yourself that once waited for his attention. And that's the beautiful twist. Your silence was never meant to hurt him. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't cold or calculated. It was self-preservation. It was healing. While he might interpret it as punishment, what he's really feeling is the collapse of his ego, not the wrath of your silence. Because silence, when it comes from a place of peace, has a way of unsettling those who expected chaos. He thought he'd leave and you'd fall apart. He thought walking away would leave you chasing, crying, needing him to validate your worth one last time. But instead, you disappeared into your own life, not to get back at him, but to get back to you. And that's what hurts him now. Not because you've tried to make him suffer, but because he's realizing that he no longer has the power to affect you. You're not reacting. You're not proving. You're not begging. And when someone loses that emotional grip they once had, when they're no longer the center of your reactions, it bruises their ego in the most uncomfortable way. You've shown him, without a word, that his absence didn't destroy you. It freed you. And that's not something his pride was prepared to handle. Because when someone thinks they're the sun in your sky, your silence feels like an eclipse. It takes away their light. And that loss of significance, that sudden emptiness where attention used to live, is what slowly starts to break them. Not because you wanted to break him, but because he never expected you to rise without him. And now that you have, his ego is left trying to make sense of how it all slipped through his fingers. And the deeper truth, the one that finally starts to settle in, both for you and for him, is that the right person would have never put you in a position to question your value in the first place. The one who's truly meant for you won't need the shock of your silence or the sting of your absence to realize what they had. They'll see it from the start. They'll recognize your heart, your presence, your loyalty, and they'll honor it, not overlook it. Because real connection doesn't come with games, with push and pull, with rejection disguised as emotional confusion. It comes with clarity, with consistency, with someone who doesn't leave and wait to miss you. They choose you and never stop showing up. What he's beginning to feel now, the doubt, the regret, the ache of your absence, that would have never needed to exist in the first place if he had truly been the one. The right person wouldn't create wounds for you to heal from. They wouldn't need to walk away just to understand your worth. And maybe, just maybe, that's the lesson he's learning now in your silence, that losing someone like you isn't something you recover from easily because someone like you doesn't come around often. But by the time he realizes that, your world has already shifted. You've already understood that love, real love, won't make you beg, won't reject you only to come back when it's convenient. It will see you, choose you, and never give you a reason to question if you're enough, because you always were. He just wasn't capable of seeing it, and now someone else will. And that's the part that changes everything, because no matter how the story unfolded, no matter what he expected or how he thought it would end, you walked away with something he can never take back: your power. You reclaimed it the moment you chose not to react, not to chase, not to prove anything to someone who didn't recognize what they had. You didn't just lose a relationship, you rediscovered your worth. You found a deeper strength, the kind that doesn't shout or demand, but simply is. The kind of strength that stands in silence and knows, without needing confirmation, that you were never the one who lacked. That's what makes you untouchable now. He may have thought rejecting you gave him control, but in reality, your silence became your revolution. It was the turning point, not just in how he saw you, but in how you saw yourself. You stopped needing answers. You stopped searching for closure. You stopped believing that someone else's inability to choose you said anything about your value. And in that quiet shift, you became powerful, unshakable, unreachable in the best possible way. Because now, you don't just carry the memory of what happened. You carry the wisdom, the strength, the proof that you don't have to force love, prove your worth, or fight to be seen. You simply rise, you evolve, and in that evolution, you become the person who no longer settles for almosts, for maybes, for people who only realize your value when you're gone. You didn't just survive his rejection, you outgrew it. And now, your silence isn't just the end of that story, it's the beginning of everything you were always meant to become. So in the end, your silence wasn't weakness. It was your awakening. It was the quiet revolution that shook the ground beneath someone who thought they'd always hold your attention. You didn't need to scream, plead, or prove. You simply removed yourself. And in doing so, you created a presence more powerful than any words could ever be. Because when you finally stop chasing, stop waiting, stop breaking yourself to be seen, you start choosing you. And that choice? That's where your true power lives. Let him sit with the silence. Let him feel the absence. Because you're not where he left you. You're rising, evolving, becoming the version of yourself who no longer asks for love, but attracts it by being whole. You've turned your pain into peace, your rejection into redirection, and your silence into strength. And now you walk forward, not to prove anything to him, but because you finally remembered who you were before he forgot.